Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I recently wrote a blog article and filmed a What's Up Wednesday around kind of comparing and contrasting behavioral-based safety, BBS, and human operational performance, HOP. And really I summarize that BBS tends to focus on the worker and behaviors, whereas HOP focuses on processes and tries to work around human behavior by developing operating procedure and process. So one of the questions that came up, and again, when we compare and contrast ideas like this, much of what anybody's going to share is going to be opinion. And there are a lot of different opinions, but some weigh a lot of facts. And the question I was asked is whether zero injuries is a realistic goal, or is it essential? Is it unrealistic that we can achieve zero injuries, or is it essential that we achieve zero injuries? And my feeling on that is that it depends on who you ask. It depends a little bit on a lot of different factors. I think in our profession, now I'm a certified safety professional, and it is expected that, my opinion is that zero injuries should be the goal and it is achievable. But anytime we have a human factor, and even sometimes when we eliminate the human factor, it doesn't mean we can't have incidents. So we have to kind of look at that. We have to take that into consideration. I mean, stuff breaks, things happen. Mother Nature does crazy things, right? So, I mean, there's always an opportunity for injury of some sort or another. But I think that the companies that have embraced some of these ideas, and interesting thing is this last week, and I spent some time with a friend who's a culture change agent and a keynote speaker. And he mentioned to me that of all the companies he works with, many of them embraced hop, they implemented hop, and then they abandoned hop for a variety of reasons. And I think I know why. It's really, really hard. It's a lot of work. It's very detailed, it's very complex, and then it needs to be simplified for the human factor. So, a lot of companies, they embark upon that journey and then they change direction looking for a silver bullet, if you will, of something that maybe works a little bit easier. So, when we look at the zero harm mindset, it's designed to kind of inspire continuous improvement. And one of the issues that you can run into with it is it may also potentially, um, I wouldn't say motivate people to not report, but underreporting can be a byproduct of trying to develop a zero injury culture. And there also can be a fear factor there. I mean, if the goal is 1 million man hours without a recordable injury and somebody gets hurt on the job, how do they feel? Think about that. How does that person feel at 940,000 safe work hours? All of a sudden they get hurt and they are the reason for the recordable injury. They're the reason that the goal wasn't met. They're the reason people didn't get their safety lunch and their safety awards. You think about that. That's a huge deal. And it's something that we have to consider in human psychology when we're striving for these goals. So my attitude is this. I think that zero injury can be achieved. I don't know that that is the goal. Actually, I feel very strongly that isn't the goal. We don't want to look at the lagging indicator, zero injuries. We want to look at behaviors. We want to look at culture. We want to look at a lot of different things that are the leading indicators and are the variables that affect that outcome of whether there are or are not injuries. And I think that we want to try to find a way to develop strong process hop and motivate workers BBS and combine some of the philosophies to try to deliver a culture that's really strong and safe. And the one thing that I know when it comes to human beings is that we by nature have a tendency to become complacent and to maybe get a little lazy in how we do things. So the way that we as leaders, not just safety leaders, but operational leaders need to, in order to make this successful, we need to constantly motivate, inspire, and remind people not to become complacent when it comes to their safety. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. And even with all that effort, people can become a little bit complacent. And as we know in the safety field, it only takes 1 second to make a mistake that results in an injury, an amputation, a fall, whatever it might be, a slip. And all of a sudden, boom, you've got an injury. So, it's not the end of the world when a company has an injury when the goal was 0 injuries. It's a wake-up call of sorts. And I think most companies deal with it. Even companies, the best companies in the world who are injury free, eventually they're going to have an injury. It's unfortunate, but it is reality. And I think that the stronger we can build that culture and build a system and a process around constantly motivating employees, monitoring employees, getting employees to really monitor themselves and those around them to point out unsafe behaviors and risk in order to reduce it on a constant basis. That's a living, breathing culture. And I think that if we're able to build that, which should be the goal, is a really, really effective culture, then we can eliminate injuries because we're eliminating all of the behaviors and conditions that kind of feed into the potential for an injury. Because as we know, it's a matter of timing and opportunity. Somebody does something at a specific time and it results in an event. And that event can be an injury, it could be a near miss, it could be a fatality or major property damage. So hopefully that's helpful. I think that this topic is very controversial. It's very opinion based, but I've seen hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of companies' cultures. And in my opinion, those who do it really well, they build it from the bottom up and the top down, and they've been really successful in avoiding injuries by really turning their workers into the ambassadors of safety. So we'll see you next Wednesday.